Hello, so welcome to another 5-minute preset. Today we're going to look at something a bit different. I've brought out the Ibanez. We're tuned in drop B, and we're going to be looking at brutal high gain, as I'd like to call it, bands like End. So HM-2, some grind in there, but staying focused, like a very focused tone all the same. So let's get started. I'll try my best to get this done in 5 minutes. It's really tough. But yeah, let's see how we do. So quick build, usual, in and out, nice and easy. Connect those two together. And we're going to have a whole host of ingredients today and quite a few tricks. So an amp and a cab, of course. We're going to add a gate, a really fast noise gate after the amp and cab. And we're going to add a multiband compressor after that. And then before the amp, this is where things get interesting. We're going to add a few things. So a filter block, a parametric EQ block, and a drive block. I won't play with all these on. It'll sound horrendous. So we'll turn those off, including the gate, and we'll get to the amp and cab. So the bass tone we're going for today, or the amp and the cab that we're going for today, is a 5153, 100 watt red. And then for the cab, we're going to be using a recto cab. So up here in the filter block, the filter search, a 4x12 57C. And on the second side, we're going to go for a recto cab as well. So search for recto, 121C. And to keep things focused, we're going to use, we're going to frame in the EQ to keep things focused. So you'll see similar numbers being used here. I like to go for an 80 hertz low cut and a 10K or 10,000 on the high cut. And this is what we get. So you can hear it's kind of bassy, and this is where the multiband compressor comes in. So when you first put this on, I would suggest zeroing out off the bat the levels. You don't want it to be boosting after the amp even more. And this is where the Andy Sneap trick comes in. There's other videos on the topic, but we'll set this up real quick. But basically we're looking to control overbearing low mids that take over the mix. And we just want to be using the mid portion of the compressor. So set the level to 0 on all of them. Set the threshold to max on both the low and the high. And then we're going to set the part that we want to work on or affect. So for this, on my drop B guitar, we're going to head for 100 here on the crossover, and 350 has worked well for me. And the only thing we change here is we're going to pull the release down to about 25. And we can leave the ratio as is. And this means that here's a before and after. If I turn this on. So it's a lot more controlled. And this will be important later on. All right. So for the gate, we're going for a really fast gate. So for a threshold, I'm going to set -55 is usually a good value to start with. A very high ratio, a very low attack time, a very low release time. So it's going to open and close extremely quick. And this is one of the tricks that I like to do, it's basically a really good feature. You can set it to look at your guitar as opposed to what's happening before that block. To do that, you set the sidechain source to input 1, i.e. your guitar that's going in there. And very important to set this to RMS. So it's going to be looking at the overall signal as opposed to particular peaks. Seems to work better for me. And what I like to do here is I put the low cut and the high cut values so that it looks at a particular frequency range. And so I find that more responsive for the gate. So we're going to set that to 80. And on the high cut, we're going to set that to 3K, so 3000. Put these elements together, and this is what we get. Right, and this is where things get a bit spicy, shall we say. So for the amp, I'm actually going to pull the gain down a bit because we're going to be boosting a lot. I've found best results here. It's a gain about 3. I'll pull the bass out a bit as well because there's going to be a lot of bass. Trust me. So I'll pull that down to 4. We can leave those as is for now. And then to our first filter block, it'll be our first, I guess, boost level. So I've found that a level of 8 for this guitar has worked quite well. And we're going to focus the guitar tone before the amp. So a low cut of 80 here and a high cut of 10,000. So I'm boosting the amp. I'll turn this off just so you get an idea of the sound. I'm boosting as well, so it'll be quite different now. And this is where it gets spicy. So the drive and the parametric EQ, we're actually going to run them in parallel before the amp. And we're going to use those to simulate a HM2, or at least a more controlled HM2. So we'll move the drive block up, and we'll move the parametric EQ up to the top row, or the row above. And then we'll link these two below. So basically the guitar is going here, and it's also in parallel up here. And this is where it gets kind of fun, I guess. So what we'll be doing is we're going to be using this parametric EQ block as sort of like a mix of the HM2 style sound, and also particular EQ settings that are gonna basically give you that kind of grindy HM2 tone. I'll give a huge shout out to a video from Dome on recreating a HM2 within the Fractal units. I'll post a link to his video below, as it's been super useful, and he's got a lot of videos on the subject as well, so I suggest you check those out if you're into that kind of chainsaw tones. And for the drive, we're going to add a fuzz, so the face fuzz. We're going to pull the drive down on that. And basically the effect of having parallel is that we have almost like a mixture of two signals. So we're going to be hitting the amp with a bit more level as well, but we have more control over this parallel chain, so the HM2 side. So with only the fuzz now, I haven't got too much drive because I find that it's overbearing for the signal. This is what we get. It's pretty good already, but the secret sauce comes from the parametric EQ. There's quite a few settings to put in, so I suggest you pause the video now and then put those in yourself, and then we'll get back to the rest of the video. So I saved the block prior. It's a more docile HM2. Dome goes over these settings in his video as well. And basically I've halved the values for like a full gunned out HM2. And what we're doing here is that the level is actually going to control the mix, or the amount of this harsh EQ, shall we say, or extreme EQ before the amp. So if I put this on with the level at 0, this is what we get. And the cool thing here is that this level means that we can dial in how much of that chainsaw, I guess, we want. Like you could even push it a lot more. So let's push this to 10, and this is what we get. You can pull it back a bit to say -10, and you still get some of that kind of character, but without being over the top. and it's still super focused as well. So you get the control and then you get the focus as well. And another fun part about this is that the fuzz adds a lot of sort of chaos and noise, and I think it's glorious. But you can take that off and just use the EQ for some extra character, and you've got a solid sort of metal tone. So there you go. I hope you got something out of this, and maybe some of the weird looking signal chains are actually something fun to do and inspire you to get some interesting tones out of what you usually dial in. And if you've got suggestions for other tones that I should try and recreate, I'll be honest, I think the 5 minutes for a lot of these is going to be a bit of a stretch, but I'll try my best to keep very short and concise videos on this. So let me know what you think. If you got suggestions for tones you want me to look at or try and do, let me know in the comments. Thanks a lot.